Hello everyone, my name is Olivia and today I'm going to do another movies that I've recently seen video, except this one's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about the movies that I've recently seen that are not featured on this 100 Essential Movies poster, but then I'm going to talk about the movies that I've seen recently that are featured on this poster as I scratched them off. I previously did a video where I scratched off all the movies that I've seen previously before getting this poster and creating this challenge, and a lot of people were upset that I didn't show the ones that I scratched off in the end, so I'll be sure to do that as well towards the other part of the video. So let's talk about the movies that I've recently seen that are not featured on this poster. So a movie that I recently seen was To All the Boys I've Loved Before, P.S. I Still Love You. This is a sequel to one of my favorite rom-coms, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which is an adaptation of Jenny Han's trilogy. And I'm not a fan of the second book in the trilogy in the first place, so when I saw this movie, it fell very flat for me. The movie felt very rushed, and it didn't have that magical, lovey-dovey, heartwarming feeling that the first movie did. It felt very rushed. I didn't feel any real connections to the characters and their development that they went through, and I just kind of started getting annoyed with Peter, and you're supposed to like Peter, and he's just so unlikable in the second movie, and it's just unrealistic that she would still stay with him after all that time. I just was really disappointed with P.S. I Still Love You. Like, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, I would gladly see over and over again because I really enjoy it, but P.S. I Still Love You, I would never see myself rewatching ever again. Another movie I saw was Colette, which is based on a true story of a French author, and this stars Keira Knightley, and she is married to a man named Willie, and Willie is very much of an entrepreneur. He's always trying to make money, and once he finds out Colette, she's able to write fantastic stories that are somewhat based off of their real life, he decides to have her ghostwrite a bunch of stories for him called Claudine. This creates a whole fad in France where everyone wants to be like Claudine, this fictional character. Everyone tries to dress up like her, tries to act like her, and it kind of deals with the fact that Keira Knightley is not being appreciated for her craft, and she's trying to make a name for herself, but her husband is suppressing her, and while that is happening, they have an open relationship, so they're both having extramarital affairs. Keira Knightley is dating a bunch of women, and Willie is dating a bunch of girls. I did enjoy the movie for the set design and Keira Knightley's acting, which is one of her best performances that I've ever seen from her, and I enjoyed the costumes as well. I feel like the plotline wasn't as strong as it could be. I felt like we didn't really understand Keira Knightley's relationships because we only ever saw them once we were in the midst of the relationships. We never saw these relationships develop and be introduced to her love interests, and I just felt very distanced from her, and I felt like I didn't really know her when I really wanted to know her. So I enjoyed the movie for the aesthetics of it all and Keira Knightley's performance, but I feel like it could have been a stronger screenplay in terms of developing these characters and developing the relationship to make us more connected as an audience. Now we're going to move on to the movies that I've recently seen that are featured on this poster, but before I do that, I want to name the movies that I've seen that I've already scratched off for people who are curious, who wanted to see that in the previous video. I'll insert that now. So we have A Streetcar Named Desire, Gone with the Wind, Singing in the Rain, Grapes of Wrath, King Kong, Citizen Kane, It Happened One Night, The Maltese Falcon, Casablanca, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Double Indemnity, It's a Wonderful Life, The Wizard of Oz, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, On the Waterfront, Bonnie and Clyde, The Graduate, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Some Like It Hot, North by Northwest, Psycho, The Godfather, Chinatown, Apocalypse Now, The Empire Strikes Back, Godfather Part 2, Jaws, Raging Bull, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Taxi Driver, E.T., Schindler's List, Forrest Gump, Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, Do the Right Thing, Goodfellas, Toy Story, The Matrix, 12 Years a Slave, Get Out, Fargo, Spirited Away, Black Panther, Titanic, and Lady Bird. And I recently saw a bunch of movies off of this poster because we kind of made it a challenge in my house to watch all of these movies that I don't have scratched off, so we made it a mission to watch those specific movies. We saw Alien. I've never seen Alien before. I've never seen pictures of Alien before. I just know that something crawls out of someone's stomach and that's all I knew. And Alien was such a wonderful movie, full of suspense, full of tension. The shots were wonderful. The set design was really interesting, seeing that gigantic alien spaceship that they went to, along with their own spaceship as well. And I just really enjoyed how they ramped up the tension and they kept you on the edge of your seat for the entire movie. It didn't have any lulls, but I do have to say that the characters were incredibly dumb in terms of their actions, and it was a little bit frustrating to watch. But then again, it's like set in the 80s, so it has to be a little bit cheesy. But it was a cool movie. It was nice to see Alien for the first time because I've heard so many things about it. So now I finally know what Alien is about. We saw Back to the Future. I've seen Back to the Future before, but I don't really remember it. So that's why I wanted to rewatch it again. And I had so much fun with Back to the Future. I did not expect to love it as much as I did, but the 80s elements and just like the nostalgia that's like put into this movie is wonderful. I also really enjoy how the plotline is so intricate in terms of time and time travel, and the characters are so quirky and weird and really original, and I just had a lot of fun with Back to the Future. Then I saw Groundhog Day, which is my least favorite movie that I've seen so far on this list. Groundhog Day is about a man who is a weatherman. He shows up to this town one day to report about the Groundhog Day and the traditions of taking out the groundhog, looking to see if it has a shadow. But the thing is, every time he wakes up, he repeats that day over and over and over again. So he has to try and figure out how to stop this day from repeating. And it was just such a long-winded movie, and I don't understand how people would think it's kind of like a rom-com, because the relationship that he had with the love interest just barely had any chemistry, and he was pretty much an asshole for the whole entire movie, which I know is the point, and he develops into like a nicer person, but the development wasn't believable. It was just too easy for him to change into a nice guy, and I just thought the movie was a little bit too long-winded and it could have been cut down a lot, and I just was not enjoying it. I wanted to DNF it halfway through, but my mom wanted to see the rest of it because we came so far and we can't quit now, but I wanted to quit it. I did not enjoy Groundhog Day. I finally saw the movie Rocky, which I've never seen before, which is wild because everyone loves that movie and everyone seems to have seen it before. But that one was also really fun. I had a lot of fun with Rocky because I really enjoyed the character Rocky and his relationship and just his training sequence. It's so classic, and like I finally was able to see it and enjoy it. I do have to say that like the sound quality of that movie is like not that good, because there were certain lines where I just like could not hear what Rocky was saying, and I don't know if that's because it's an older movie or if he was just mumbling too much, but I just could not understand him for most of the movie, and I'm just like, am I the only one who's noticing how bad the sound quality is in Rocky? Because it's not that good. But it is a movie that I had a lot of fun with, so I'm glad I finally saw it. Then we saw Good Will Hunting. This is about a boy named Will who works as a janitor in MIT, but he's actually a genius. Like, he's really, really good at math, and it comes very easily to him. But one day he gets into a bit of trouble, and a professor from MIT who takes an interest in him decides to pair him up with a therapist who is played by Robin Williams, and Robin Williams kind of has to set him on the right path and tell him that he has a lot of potential, and if he doesn't chase after that potential, then he's kind of wasting his life. So Good Will Hunting does have wonderful messages to it. There's a lot of really touching moments that really hit you, and it feels like you're being told that advice, and it's like universal truths that everyone should hear. I do have to say, it's not a movie that I would ever think about long after I've seen it, like with other movies that I absolutely love, like Ex Machina, Inside Llewyn Davis, Casablanca. I always think about those movies because they really impacted me. But Good Will Hunting impacted me at the moment, but it didn't leave a lasting impression on me. So Robin Williams' acting was wonderful. Matt Damon was surprisingly wonderful, but I just didn't see myself fully impacted by the movie. Then I saw a silent movie which is featured on this poster, and that is The General. This stars Buster Keaton, who is known for his grand stunts, his use of a lot of people on set, and for just large stunts that he does. And The General is basically about a guy who's an engineer who tries to win over this girl who gets stolen on a train. So he takes another train to try and chase after her and save her. And it's a pretty good silent film for the time. Like the stunts that he did, I can't believe he was able to pull off at that specific time in like the 20s. And it was just really fun. I thought it was really comedic. But again, I would never see this movie ever again. But I am glad that I saw it because it once again made me appreciate silent film, because I really enjoy silent film and the techniques that they use at the time with such limited capabilities in terms of film. It was nice to go back to like film's roots and watch a silent film. But again, I wouldn't watch it again, but it was nice to watch, you know? And the last movie that I've seen on this poster is Silence of the Lambs, and I was always scared to watch this movie because I thought it would be a really like scary, like nightmare-inducing movie, but I had so much fun with Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs is about a woman who is working in Quantico and she wants to eventually work for the behavioral science unit, and they decide to let her interview Hannibal Lecter, who is one of the most infamous serial killers and cannibalists of that time, which is unrealistic. Who would allow like an intern basically to interview one of the most high profile killers of all time with no one supporting her, no one going on the interview with her? It's just unrealistic. I've seen Mindhunter. I know what's the truth. Pushing that aside, Silence of the Lambs is such a tension-filled movie. Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter did such a wonderful performance, and it always kept me wondering what was going to happen next because I knew nothing about this movie beforehand, and I just had a really fun time with it. It's a movie that I think I could see myself watching over and over again because I just love the tension and like the edge of my seat feeling that it gave me, and I thought it was really interesting and like intricate, and it was a really cool movie, and it made me want to watch more like classic thrillers. So those are the movies that I recently seen, and those are some movies that I recently scratched off on my movie poster. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what movies you've been recently seeing during this time, because I've been on a movie roll. I've just been watching a ton of movies, so I hope you enjoyed watching this catch-up video, and if you have not subscribed already and you want to see more from me, be sure to do that, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Be kind and have a good day. Bye!